It's a Toronto area riding just east of the big city where the benefits of suburban life are clearly visible. Big homes on manicured lots, plenty of parks, a vibrant waterfront, and cheaper housing. All are part of what draws so many here to the riding of Pickering Uxbridge. But this election, there are also major issues coming up to the surface, well beyond the planned closure of the local nuclear power plant and controversial proposed new airport. What are the main issues for you with this upcoming federal election?
Well, right now, the water quality along the lake would be one of my concerns. Major concerns would be better, more respect for seniors.
In terms of pensions?
In terms of pension and clawbacks and what have you.
Attracting both young and old, Pickering is a growing bedroom community in the Greater Toronto Area, and it has clearly outgrown its infrastructure. The average family income here is about $120,000 a year. That's in the country's top 25%. But even here, there is deep concern over jobs and the economy.
This evening's weekly candidate event is part of an ongoing series of the library's office.
At this all-candidates meeting, would-be MPs gathered to sell their vision of the future.
Since Durham Region actually has one of the highest youth unemployment rates. So this is an issue nationally, but also very locally for all of us.
There's a lot of barriers that are being politically created where it's just going to be the same status quo if we don't take action now.
You know, setting the minimum wage federally at $15 an hour helps because it sets a bar and people will respond to that and it will help raise the wages for other people as well.
I think congratulations are in order in that you managed to balance the budget ahead of schedule.
Well, we balanced the budget. That was a good news for us.
Yes, it is.
Corneliu Chizu is the Conservative incumbent here. He's a former combat engineer who served in Afghanistan and the Balkans. And he's hoping to get re-elected, figuring this time it will be an easy sell.
But the important thing is this one for the community to vote.
To vote.
Because we are having the government which people are establishing.
Exactly.
And we are getting also the government we deserve.
Newly released numbers suggest his party has steered the economy well, and Chizu may be helped by something else. Now, Pickering Uxbridge is among many newly redistributed ridings across vote-rich Ontario. And it's interesting because some are already suggesting that given the new boundary changes, they do offer the Conservative incumbent a bit of an unfair advantage. Corneliu Chizu won in his old riding by more than 1,200 votes. Redistributed, he'd be set to win here in Pickering Uxbridge by more than 6,000 votes. But the new boundaries were set by judge-run provincial commissions, not the government. And this riding's comprised of two sections. Uxbridge, the more rural northern half of the riding, has a long history of electing Conservatives. But the southern portion, which now includes the entire city of Pickering, only went Conservative in the last election. Still, it did elect Liberals in all three elections prior. Chizu's hoping to keep the new riding Conservative and knows it all comes down to one thing. How is the Canadian economy? Have the Conservatives, with a decade in power, done a good job? What are people telling you?
I think that they are very pleased with what we have done, and mostly they are pleased with the low taxes and creating the environment for the business to come and to thrive. If you are not, the government place is to create the opportunities for the businesses, and is not to be in business.
Yet we are in a technical recession in Canada. That's not good economic news,
I don't think so that it is a technical recession, depending how you are looking for. Because
are you saying Canada is not in recession?
No, I don't believe that Canada is in recession. It is some sectors like the oil industry or the resource industry is 20% of our GDP, but the rest of the industries are growing.
But even the Prime Minister has acknowledged we were in recession. And
well, I don't think so that he is using that word recession. I think
during
that
the debate,
we are in a difficult situation. But what the economists are saying that in 2015, in the second half of the 2015 economy will be growing.
Okay.
We cannot make our assumption for just a month or quarters and so on. We need to look globally how our economy is doing. If you are looking at the fact that the GDP went down for 0.5%, which is a lot of economists are based on this issue that we are in recession and so on, but the definition of the recession is not only one. I'm looking.
No, it's negative growth, right, for 2 quarters, which we've seen. So then that was deemed technical recession. And then the other factor, we just recently got from the OECD, a lower projected growth percentage for this country,
but
right?
will be always a growth projected. If you are looking at the entire international situation, we are still in a better position than anybody else. Our housing market didn't collapse like the housing market collapsed in the United States. Our banking system survived, and it is one of the best in the world because we were cautious and we were very careful in how we are managing our economy.
So is that because of conservative government policies that Canada is doing as well as it is?
I think that we have done a good policy, and that, as you have seen in the sixth year, actually, it was not the 7th year we suggested a surplus for our budget.
In fact, the latest figures show the Conservative government recorded a $1.9 billion surplus in 2014-2015. That's about the same time that a very confident Chizu rose in the House using his Romanian roots to channel a well-known count in Transylvania.
The count. Tomorrow is Halloween. Very, very scary. And while children from across the land celebrate with candy and trick-and-treating, Canadians from coast to coast to coast are frightened by the very scary NDP. Mr. Speaker, Count Dracula himself is scared by the NDP leader, very, very spooky QP. The Count says, lighten up, and the very scary vampires and the spooky taxes will go with the gargoyles. Mr. Speaker, very, very scary. The Liberal leader, rising taxes and the budget balancing itself are spooking the Count. Canadians are calling on the PM and asked to put a stake through the heart of the horrendous taxes.
What does Chizu's Liberal challenger think of that?
I'm all for a sense of humor. I love a good joke, don't get me wrong. But I've also looked at Mr. Chizu's record in the House, and he makes no mention of a lot of things that are facing the residents here.
Such as?
Well, such as jobs. And in Durham region, we have some of the highest youth unemployment.
You know, you remember, it is Halloween, and we have a little fun, and actually all.
But is there something scary with the NDP and Liberals?
I tell you something, you know what we are doing? We are making promises, and we keep them. And we kept them, these promises. We kept them, the promise telling. We are reducing the GST by 2 points. We have done it. We made 107 promises in our last 4 years.
But you also promised to create jobs. Tax breaks for big corporations, the theory was it would be a trickle-down effect, right?
Well,
that corporations would fare better, would create more jobs. What we're seeing, though, is they're holding on to the money.
But, you know, that is another issue. The issue is this one, that we are speaking about the business. 99% of the Canadian economy is based on the small business. We reduced the small business tax from 19% to the 11%, and we proposed that we will reduce additionally from 11% to 9%.
Liberal Jennifer O'Connell says the Conservative government has failed Canadian cities. She should know she's the deputy mayor of Pickering and a longtime city and regional councillor.
Budgets are extremely tight in municipalities. We need a lot of help. We have a lot of aging infrastructure here in Pickering and across Durham region. And it's something we need partners. It's not only the federal government, but the provincial government as well.
O'Connell says only the Liberals' $125 billion infrastructure plan is designed to offer the kind of stable funding that cities need. to get municipal shovel-ready projects going.
My name's Jennifer O'Connell. I'm the federal Liberal candidate. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, there's no way I would go with Harper.
Oh, thanks. Is there a policy in particular? We're just actually talking about the issues that are facing the riding.
No, just get rid of Harper.
Okay.
That's the only policy I want in place.
Okay. I appreciate it. Great meeting you.
Luck.
Have a good afternoon. Thanks for your time. One of the biggest issues is being, as part of the Finance Committee at Durham Region, is, previous downloading and then now, investments or rollbacks of announcements. And it's always the municipalities that seem to get their funding rolled back first. And
you mentioned downloading. So that's, we've had other parties mention that, in fact, if you track it back historically, a lot of the strife for cities started when, under the Chrétien era, they looked to balance the budget, and Paul Martin initiated massive cuts. That went down and trickled down to the province, and then the province trickled it down to the cities, and the cities are now starved of cash. How would you respond to that, given that some say it all started with a previous Liberal government?
Yeah, I mean, of course there's going to be, we can look back and see these things that were done that were probably, looking forward now, should have been probably done differently, or all I can do is I can't speak to the rationale behind what was done then. All I know is moving forward, the need for investment in infrastructure, it keeps communities moving, which will keep the economy moving. So if we don't do something moving forward, then everybody is going to suffer. So it's one of these things that is going to be critical.
But some might argue that going ahead with that massive infrastructure plan and running deficits till 2019 is not the way to go, given the new fiscal reality. And we're now learning that for 2014-2015, it's a $1.9 billion surplus, and in 2015-2016, another surplus that is anticipated. So do you think the Trudeau plan was unveiled a little too early, given what we now see, and that is a surplus?
No, I think there are still areas, for example, ways that the surplus happened, where things like $1 billion in Veterans Affairs not being spent. So there's money that we'd like to also, some of it's not even an expansion, it's just fulfilling the commitment that was always there. So that money has to go back in the coffers.
And some wonder if the newly announced surplus could mean the reopening of closed veterans' offices. What about reopening veterans' offices? There's some anger that some have over that. I mean, you served in Afghanistan.
Yes, I served.
Are a veteran. Why not open those offices?
Well, you know, I'm looking for service for veterans. I'm not looking for opening offices or closing offices. I'm not commenting too much on these things because I was detached for that decision.
Just wanted to come around, see if anyone, introduce myself, see if you had any questions, concerns.
I have a lot of questions. I'm on the fence.
Okay, great.
I don't know. I used to be Liberal.
Okay.
And then I voted Conservative, but now I'm confused.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully I can help.
Mr. Trudeau's confused me a little bit on some of the policies.
Okay.
And then the Conservatives come back and throw this deficit thing at us yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know the truth.
For Pickering, I'm absolutely fine if you were my councillor.
Thank you.
Unfortunately for the federal.
Yes, I understand.
And worse for the Liberal, actually. If you'd been a provincial Liberal, that'd be even worse. So I'm sorry, that's probably not what you wanted to hear.
So can I ask you what that voter was saying?
Sure. So he had liked my work on council, appreciated that I stepped forward, but he wasn't a Liberal. He disagreed with the Mr. Trudeau's plan to no longer allow for income splitting as well as the increase in the tax-free savings.
So how do you respond to that?
Well, I appreciate it in the sense that everyone has a difference of opinion, and he was actually quite wonderful, very nice, and he respected the fact and appreciated the fact that I was stepping forward.
But is there anything else that the Liberal plan offers seniors like that gentleman right there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest misperception is that by focusing on the middle class and by no longer allowing the income splitting is the way that we can afford to pay for things that will actually benefit everybody. And I think that getting over that hurdle and focusing on the bigger picture, unfortunately, is a challenge in an election. But I feel really strong and confident that it is the right thing to do. So, you know, we'll get that message through.
The NDP candidate for Pickering Uxbridge is teacher Pamela Downward.
You got to get your chemistry? Yeah.
So being a teacher, you've heard, you know, the personal stories of a lot of families that have been struggling, you say.
I have. I've worked 11 years in a community where I am very connected with the families. And these are families who work so hard and just cannot get ahead. They're always just behind.
So childcare, the NDP is promising $15 a day childcare. That's a huge plus for them?
Huge. It will be huge for them to have just that comfort of knowing that they'll that part of their worry is taken away. I mean, I have people who are friends who are waiting for childcare spaces, years for childcare spaces. And when you do get a space, it's up to $2,000 a month. Another thing people are, like I said, people are talking to me about their the retirement security and feeling that there's so many people who don't have pension plans or are having a very difficult time saving for their retirement. And the NDP's plan is to immediately restore the eligibility age back to 65 from 67, and to invest in affordable housing for seniors. And specifically in Uxbridge, what I'm hearing is the challenges that small farmers are facing with food processing. And I'm always happy to be able to tell them that the NDP is the only party that has a food policy, and that will invest in food processing. It will protect supply management.
The NDP is not won here, as far as we know, in the past little while. Could it happen this time around? What signals, what signs are you getting that you've got a pretty good shot at this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I do believe that the NDP has a shot here this time, and I think it is based on the fact that people are ready for change, and people see that Tom Mulcair is a principled leader. He has the experience to defeat Stephen Harper. He has a plan that is clearly geared to strengthening the middle class and helping people get ahead. And I've had lots of people say to me that they are considering NDP this time around.
Mm-hmm. And if you're the elected representative for this riding, what would you like to change or see change immediately? What kind of change could you actually affect that is desperately needed here?
Well, like I said, I'm a teacher. I'm certainly not a career politician. I'm a different kind of leader. I'm a community advocate. I'm a political action chair, mother, and I'm a leader from my classroom. We're running a very grassroots campaign here in Pickering Uxbridge, and I believe in grassroots.
But if it's a grassroots party that voters are looking for, then the Green Party believes it has the NDP beat. Anthony Navarro is an IT specialist who started out defending internet freedom as a member of the Pirate Party. He says his party offers candidates the kind of freedom the Liberal Party can't. And he points to well-known Liberal MP and energy analyst Dan McTeague.
Why isn't Mr. McTeague running again?
To my knowledge, it's because of the Liberal Party's constraining rules versus the whole pro-life versus pro-choice stance that they have. So they said all candidates that are pro-life essentially get out, and the pro-choice ones stay. And as a result, because Dan McTeague is has really high ethical standards, saying no, I must be pro-life, he decided to leave as a result. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm actually your Green Party candidate for Pickering Uxbridge. I just wanted to talk to you for a moment and maybe get some feedback on how you're seeing things in this election.
This election's still all about jobs and the economy. Being a Green Party candidate, what is the Green plan for jobs and the economy?
The Green plan for jobs and economy is there's actually a great array of things that we can actually innovate on. The nice thing is we're still able to make those bold promises and still be able to make those bold and long-term prosperity as well as long-term solutions while still being able to balance the books. What it's really all about is priorities. So one of the biggest priorities is that we got to fix our tax reform and our tax system. We got to do something about white-collar crime. We have to do something about the way we tax things in general. I mean, doesn't it make sense that you should be taxing things that are harmful to us and then reducing taxes on things that are good for us?
But how does that translate to jobs?
How it translates to jobs is the innovations in many sectors that we're going to be putting all kinds of investment into. One of them is the huge long-term super funding that we're giving directly to municipalities because, unfortunately, municipalities are getting the short end of the stick. Municipalities have always been really good at finding innovative ways to create jobs.
Yeah, how does that compete, though, with the reality of there's a $1.9 billion surplus with this Conservative government? That's a sizable surplus. And again, they're selling themselves as great economic stewards.
That's correct. Well, we've actually looked into a lot of where that money actually came from. It's actually unused money that since conveniently Parliament kind of ended right before the end of a fiscal year, there's some extra money laying around. So I can see where they're playing politics with that, unfortunately.
This man says he's voted Green before and would consider doing the same again.
But what is it about the Greens that attracts you this time around?
I think they're more a People's Party. They have they're not like most of the politicians, especially Stephen Harper, who promised a whole lot of things before he got into power, and then I don't think he fulfilled his promises at all. I think he destroyed the reputation that Canada had throughout the world, and I think he's took a major step backwards. So the Liberals had their chance. They kind of blew it with a couple of scandals.
Others have completely closed the door to anyone but Stephen Harper.
I thoroughly detest what Trudeau and Mulcair stand for, and I'll vote Conservative.
Strong emotions, mainly why? Driven by what? What do you detest?
Because I can't see a person of Trudeau's qualifications leading Canada on the world stage. It'll take a man like Mr. Harper, who has done it for the last 10 years and is very good at it, and I want him to lead this country.
Corneliu Chizu may take pride in Conservative policies, but he also admits
always we can do better, and we will do better. And I think that under the leadership of Prime Minister Harper, who demonstrated in these 10 years, despite all the critics and so on, that we survived and we navigated the very choppy waters of the world economy. And I think that Canadians today are better than any other people all over the world, including the United States, including Europe. We don't want to arrive in the situation of Greece. We cannot spend more. You cannot spend more than we can earn.
And Chizu's Liberal challenger says most supporters she talks to are not willing to give the Conservatives another mandate.
I've knocked on doors in Uxbridge for several weeks, if not months now, and they're ready for change. And I think also my reputation as a local councillor and deputy mayor in Pickering has proved very well here, and the response has been excellent. I'm not going to lie, I was nervous about the new boundary in terms of Uxbridge and is it so conservative, and but no, they have welcomed me with open arms. Our office is there, and we've had a lot of interest, and like I said, knocking on doors has been extremely positive.
So you expect to win?
Yeah, I do.
For CPAC in Pickering, Uxbridge, I'm Jacqueline Mulcharik.